You know what? To those who are about to go after or even physically attack me for disliking a widely popular and beloved early childhood educator / children's YouTuber.
Don't even think about it!
I'm not a psychopath or anything like that, alright? I just seriously don't like that kind of modern children's content.
There's a huge difference, but nobody on the internet ever takes the time to ask themselves, is this worth freaking out over? Or are there bigger problems in the world than
A Gen Z are hating on a widely popular and beloved early childhood educator / children's YouTubers? I would assume that this specific person born in Gen Z had a way more superior childhood with a majority of the media that his / her generation grew up with compared to what Gen Alpha and Gen Beta are currently growing up with.
Well, I assure you there are.
Especially with the whole Iran war that's been happening for a few months now, which has been causing a massive majority of gas stations across the whole entire United States to rapidly rise up their prices, which has been causing a massive majority of people who live in the United States that still drive gas-powered vehicles to this day to pay for very expensive gas prices at whatever gas station they go to when they run in low on gas and need to refill their gas-powered vehicles. And especially if those gas-powered vehicle drivers are going on a long road trip even with their own families, need to attend an important business meeting, especially if it's associated with the jobs they work at, and other important destinations that those gas-powered vehicle drivers need to attend. So despite having said all of that about any other bigger problems in the world, then,
just for the record,
I seriously don't like Miss Rachel's educational YouTube videos, books, toys, clothes, and other merchandise of hers, especially under her own brand name, all as a whole to begin with, except for, I repeat, except for, when she advocates and stands up for children living in conflict and war, as that would be the one and only, I repeat, the one and only, exception from her, especially since she's been recently, and ever since, best friends with that one double amputee 3-year-old little girl from Gaza, who goes by the name of Rahef, who lost both of her legs from an Israel airstrike, but has been rescued to come to the United States through the Palestine Children's Relief Fund. Not to mention, I watch a lot of the controversial Instagram and TikTok videos about / out of her just to see how her own hate base is doing, meaning therefore, I always knew she was trouble elsewhere on the internet. Yeah, you heard me. I said that loud and clear. And worst of all, and to my very own theory about what I'm about to say next, a majority of Gen X and millennial parents who have children that were born in either the early 2020s portion of Gen Alpha, or even Gen Beta, as well as a majority of Gen Zers who plan on having their own kids at some point in the future, are pretty much betraying, forgetting about, and leaving behind a majority of the media that they grew up with during their childhoods, not only because of how widely popular and recognizable Miss Rachel has become recently and ever since, especially to the youngest generations yet, which are obviously both the early 2020s portion of Gen Alpha and Gen Beta, but also because of how extremely massive her empire has grown, from lack of resources for her own son's speech delay, until up to this very day for how massively successful she has become ever since. So out of everything I've just said and described here, then I dare you to tell back to me. Darn right we are. Because she's this generation's Mr. Rogers and she's the absolutely 100% #1 choice for both language development and crucial brain development. And do you not give a mother freaking damn that her own son suffered through a speech delay for literally a year and a half at first, or something like that? Then my very own answer to that would be, darn right I don't. Because in all honesty, if only, I repeat, if only, she found the right kind of resources for her son's speech delay around the time she and their own husband Aaron were both trying very hard to, none of this would have happened at all in the first place. But no. She and her own husband Aaron both certainly went the other way with that. So out of everything I've just said and described here, what do a majority of you have to say about all of this? Huh? Do you, especially with your own babies and toddlers, just want to completely avoid me wherever I'm out in public even when you're in the same location as me? Well, congratulations, a majority of you Gen X and millennial parents out there who have children that were born in either the early 2020s portion of Gen Alpha, or even Gen Beta, as well as a majority of Gen Zers who plan on having their own kids at some point in the future. Because this is just the way it's going to be in our modern day society from now on and beyond. Therefore, I can't even talk to or interact with other people's babies and toddlers without even doing Miss Rachel's recognizable, iconic, and trademarked high-pitched sing-songy voice. And without their own parents watching me like a hawk to make sure I'm actually doing it correctly. And lastly, and in all honesty about this entire topic, why can't babies and toddlers, either who were born in the early 2020s portion of Gen Alpha, or even Gen Beta, light up and show off their cute and adorable gummy smile to something that a massive majority of Gen Zers, including myself, grew up with during their childhoods, including mine, like the baby Einstein caterpillar, for example, or or any of the animal puppets from any of the Baby Einstein videos that a massive majority of Gen Zers, including myself, watched when we Gen Zers were babies and toddlers. Therefore, believe it or not, as a loyal Gen Zer myself, I actually grew up watching a majority of the Baby Einstein videos when I was little, and I've enjoyed watching them ever since I was very first introduced to the Baby Einstein videos.
How many of you can say that? Where's my medal?
I'm so moderate left, I'm spinning in cyclones going crazy right now. You pathetic excuses of trying to get away with physically attacking or going after those who have completely different and entitled opinions on someone who is now a massive success and expert in early childhood development and education, such as Miss Rachel. Obviously, because of literally everything I've just said and described about her, and instead of me being ashamed of myself for criticizing you for all this, then you should be ashamed of yourselves for even being overwhelmingly and overprotectively, I repeat, overwhelmingly and overprotectively, a part of Miss Rachel's ironic fan base, because of literally everything that I've just said and described in this whole entire topic.